Before we get started, viewer discretion is highly recommended. The following content is intended solely for educational and entertainment purposes. What you're about to read is the exact federal courtroom testimony from the Sean Diddy Combs trial as reported by Inner City Press. The seventh day of the trial was originally set to focus on Cassie Ventura, but at 10:58 a.m., something completely unexpected happened. Curtis Jackson, better known as 50 Cent, entered the courtroom, no entourage, no advance notice, no media frenzy. Dressed in a gray suit and carrying a slim black folder, he calmly walked to the front, paused briefly, and whispered something to the bailiff. Moments later, shocked murmurs filled the room as the judge confirmed that Curtis Jackson had been sworn in and was ready to testify. What 50 Cent revealed about Kim Porter, the documents she kept, and her fear of Diddy was more chilling than any song lyric or headline. This wasn't just a feud. It was a sworn murder accusation. The atmosphere inside the courtroom was tense. Even before the unexpected event, it was day 7, and most expected more of the same emotional testimony from Cassie Ventura, routine questioning, and another heated exchange between prosecutors and defense. But at precisely 10:46 a.m., the heavy wooden courtroom doors creaked open, drawing all eyes. A tall, well-known man entered wearing a sharp charcoal suit without a tie. It was Curtis Jackson. 50 Cent, silent and focused, he avoided the press and gallery, each step echoing in the quiet room. Gasps came from the audience, even Cassie, who had stayed composed for days, visibly stiffened. Her gaze locked on 50 Cent as he approached the front. The bailiff glanced at the judge, who gave a single approving nod. The moment was official. Diddy, seated at the defense table, slowly turned, his face tightening. He leaned toward his attorney and whispered something, eyes fixed on 50 Cent. Approaching the front, 50 Cent respectfully requested to testify under oath. He made it clear he wasn't there for spectacle or attention. He was there to speak the truth. Judge Harmon, clearly interested but cautious, asked if he had submitted any. 50 Cent was then asked if he had any evidence to back up his testimony. Calmly, he pulled a manila folder from under his arm containing documents, screenshots, voicemails, and photographic proof. The judge reviewed the materials in silence before giving the nod to proceed. Instantly, reporters began furiously typing. Social media buzzed with hashtags about 50 testifies even before he fully took the stand. Yet inside the courtroom, the atmosphere was completely silent. Known for his bravado, trolling, and public feuds, 50 Cent appeared transformed, focused, composed, and solemn. "I'm here today not because I want to be," he began, "but because someone who trusted me is gone, and the truth needs to come out." Settling into the witness chair, he recounted how Kim Porter confided in him. Their talk started casually in 2017 through mutual friends and industry events. "We weren't best friends," he clarified, "but we had respect and private conversations. She felt she could trust me without judgment." During those moments, Kim opened up about her fears, saying in her own words, "If something happens to me, it won't be an accident." Then came a bombshell. Kim had shared screenshots of emails, backups of text, and a password-protected encrypted cloud folder. She even played voicemails for him. One in particular was chilling, from an anonymous caller warning her to stop digging into things that don't concern her. 50 said Kim believed Diddy was behind the threats, while she lacked direct proof of that call. She recognized his patterns and tactics. Then 50 dropped another revelation. Kim had been writing a memoir, calling it her redemption journal. It wasn't for fame or money, but so her children could understand her struggles. One day, however, she was terrified. She told 50 that Diddy had been tracking her movements. She suspected her phones were tapped, and the same cars appeared parked outside her home day after day. Security cameras inside her house glitched mysteriously. "He's watching me, I can feel it," she confided. 50 paused for effect as the jury leaned forward. Even Cassie briefly closed her eyes, weighed down by the testimony. She was scared, 50 said, terrified, and she had every reason to be. He then told the court that Kim had once shown him a screenshot of an Uber trip log, which she said was Diddy's assistant arriving uninvited at her home at 3:41 a.m. She explained he wasn't there to talk, but to remind her who was in control. When the prosecution asked if 50 Cent had preserved any of this evidence, he confirmed that he had. The judge permitted the submission of 3 screenshots and a dated voicemail. "I'm not here for drama," he said firmly. "I'm here because Kim knew she wouldn't get justice in life. Maybe now in death she finally will." As tension mounted in the courtroom, 50 Cent pulled out a printed email from his folder. He explained it was from Kim's former stylist, kept anonymous for safety, who had been close to both Kim and Diddy for years. The email, dated just 2 weeks before Kim's death, warned her to stop working on her memoir, urging her to drop the book. 50 Cent told the jury this wasn't empty scare tactics, but a serious warning from someone who had seen too much. But the most shocking detail was buried 3 paragraphs in. "You bought a gold casket a month ago for you." The courtroom fell into a stunned silence. At first, 50 Cent thought it was an exaggeration, but after Kim's funeral and seeing the casket, he believed it. He revealed that Kim had confided she possessed video footage from Diddy's notorious parties tape showing him, other men, and things he couldn't say in court. This footage was stored on a hidden drive that mysteriously disappeared from Kim's home during what police called a routine burglary. He looked the jury in the eye and said that footage hadn't vanished, it was taken. When asked if Kim had named anyone, 50 nodded and mentioned Clive Davis, Andre Harrell, and a billionaire. Kim said she had them all recorded, not just talking, but actively involved. She knew releasing the tapes would cost her everything, her safety, her career, even her life. But she told him, "If I go down, I'm not going down quietly." He closed this part with a chilling encrypted email from Kim. "If I disappear, if I die, if anything happens to me that feels off, you know who did it. You always will." Slowly folding the paper, he declared, "Now the rest of the world." Well, the courtroom fell silent as 50 Cent returned to the stand and requested the judge's permission to introduce a file Kim Porter had once shown him titled simply Masters and Murders. With careful deliberation, 50 explained that Kim believed Tupac Shakur and Christopher Wallace Biggie were killed, not due to street rivalries, but through deliberate decisions made behind closed doors by powerful industry figures who saw both men as too outspoken, too influential, and too in control of their legacies. Kim had uncovered this through voicemails, studio recordings, and secondhand conversations. "She told me in 2018, they plan to make icons out of dead men because dead men can't sue." The courtroom was stunned. 50 shared that Kim once confided that during a late 90s trip to New York, she overheard a private conversation between Andre Harrell and another unnamed executive. They were allegedly discussing how Tupac's influence threatened East Coast industry dominance. Kim had no audio, but kept handwritten, dated, and signed notes. She knew too much. 50 told the jury. When asked why Kim never went public, 50 looked the jury in the eyes and said it was because she was scared, outnumbered, and aware of what had happened to Tupac and Biggie. He submitted printed transcriptions of Kim's voicemails naming key players like Suge Knight, Andre Harrell, and Jimmy Iovine, suggesting they all knew Diddy had a role in fueling tensions that escalated into violence. Biggie's publishing and royalties were locked up after his death, benefiting labels and benefiting Diddy. Gasps came from the gallery. One juror wiped tears and everyone leaned in. The court was no longer just examining Kim's death, they were starting to realize she might have held the final thread to unravel one of hip-hop's greatest mysteries. When 50 Cent returned for his 5th testimony, his voice grew darker and heavier. He wasn't just recounting events, he was speaking for a silenced woman. "You heard what Gene Deal said," he began. "Kim wasn't found in her bed, she was found on the bathroom floor. Yet, the official statement said she died peacefully in her sleep. That was a lie." He paused, then added, "I got in a mail the night before her funeral from someone who claimed to have worked with the original coroner. The witness continued, revealing that the first autopsy detected traces of a toxin that shouldn't have been present. They didn't specify what it was, but noted it was flagged, and the full report was sealed. The judge permitted 50 Cent to submit a printed copy of the email with the names redacted. Attached was a statement from one of Kim's personal assistants who recalled Kim saying, "If I die suddenly, check the cameras, check the vents." 50 also presented photos allegedly showing Kim's home ransacked the night she died to laptops gone, a backup drive missing, and a handwritten sticky note taped to a mirror that read, "Don't forget who you are." The jury remained silent. As 50 dropped the next bombshell, Kim had a book deal. The manuscript was finished. Cover art was being finalized. But suddenly the publisher went silent, lawyers got involved, and everything stopped. The book vanished. He showed a non-disclosure agreement from a company tied to Diddy's legal team, demanding the removal of any mention of Diddy from the manuscript, threatening litigation if ignored. Just like that, the truth disappeared. The courtroom grew colder. As 50 shifted to Diddy's obsession with gaining full custody of Kim's twins, the mood changed. This was no longer only about Kim's fear for her life, but her children's safety. Kim had told him plainly, "If he ever gets custody, I'm done for. He won't need me anymore." He said Kim was quietly preparing to move, new house, new name, private schools in another state. She didn't tell Diddy or most friends. Yet somehow, he found out. 50 grimly presented a private investigator's report showing that Diddy flew from New York to Los Angeles 2 days before Kim's death. Flight records and private jet manifest confirmed Diddy traveled with 2 assistants and an unnamed legal consultant. According to a source close to Kim, Diddy showed up uninvited at her home the next day, captured on security cameras footage that 50 said was later lost. From that moment, Kim went silent, and 2 days later, she was gone. He then showed the court a digital letter Kim had written to her lawyer in 2018, just months before her death. The letter detailed Diddy's increasingly erratic behavior, violent threats, and ended with an explicit warning: "I'll never leave him without consequences." 50 closed this part of his testimony with a chilling final statement. Kim's chilling words echoed through the courtroom: "If anything happens to me, don't let him raise my girls." The room fell utterly silent. Diddy even stopped scribbling in his notebook, his hands slack, eyes fixed on the floor. The jury, visibly shaken, had absorbed enough for the day. But the trial was far from over, though 50 Cent had already shared disturbing claims. Things darkened further when he mentioned the missing surveillance footage from Kim Porter's home. Standing resolute, 50 explained that Kim had security cameras not only outside but inside her house and hallways, bedrooms, even pointing at her front door. He recounted that in one of their final phone calls, Kim confessed to growing paranoid. "They know I'm watching them now. I've got proof stored into places, one cloud, one hard drive. If something happens to me, they better not say it was pneumonia." He presented an affidavit from a tech contractor who maintained Kim's system 2 weeks before her death, confirming all cameras were working and footage was set to upload automatically to a secure cloud. But here's where it got damning. Just 48 hours after Kim died, administrative credentials were remotely accessed from an IP link to Revolt Media, Diddy's own media company. That login didn't just view footage, it wiped files. When LAPD later requested the recordings, they claimed none were recoverable. She had a full surveillance system, 50 asked the court, and the only footage missing is the night she died. He paused, then added, "You know who had motive. You know who had access. And now you know who had the power to cover it up." Juror 6 clenched her jaw. Juror 11 scribbled notes feverishly. Diddy remained motionless, his attorneys whispering behind him. The unspoken truth was deafening. Then, with tension and a peak, 50 revealed another bombshell, a direct message from Kim to her ex, Alp, sent just days before her death. He played a voice note, saying, "You can't hear it now, but she said," and I quote, "They know I'm going to talk. I'm scared." He then showed a screenshot of a message time-stamped 48 hours before Kim's death, where she told Alp, "Sure, he keeps asking about my hard drive. I think he's planning. If I disappear, it wasn't me." The courtroom sat in stunned silence. 50 added, "Alp sure went public about this in 2020 on IG Live, but no one took it seriously. I did." The prosecution entered that screenshot into evidence. Then came a shocking twist nobody expected. 50 testified that just 2 days after Kim's funeral, he received a private call from an unknown number. The voice on the other end warned, "Back off or you'll end up like her." Investigators traced the number to a burner phone bought with cash, but the SIM had pinged near a known bad boy office in New York. Gasps filled the courtroom as 50 locked eyes with Diddy. "I don't scare easy," he said, "and I sure as hell don't back down when threatened." The judge asked if he had reported the call. "I did," 50 replied, "but nothing happened. Now I'm saying it in court. Let's see who tries to shut me up." As 50 prepared to finish, the room leaned in jurors, journalists, even Diddy himself. Taking a deep breath, 50 spoke slowly. "I'm not here for press or clout. I'm here because I owe it to Kim." He paced deliberately. Kim wasn't crazy or reckless. She was a mother protecting her kids. She knew secrets about Diddy that even his lawyers might not. With sharp conviction, he declared, "Diddy isn't just an abuser or controlling, he's dangerous. Kim told me straight. If anything happens to me, it's him." She was scared he'd ruin her or worse. 50 submitted a final document, a signed memo from a former label assistant, outlining Diddy's obsession with silencing anyone he saw as a threat. The memo quoted Diddy saying, "Dead women don't talk." The courtroom froze. "I'm no lawyer," 50 said, "but I know what murder looks like when it's dressed in $1 million suit. Y'all got the evidence, do something with it." Then he turned, walked past Diddy, stared him down, and said, "You always thought I was playing chess. Turns out, I was holding the checkmate." Diddy didn't blink. His face remained blank, not smug, not angry, just empty, and the jury saw it. The courtroom fell silent as 50 Cent stepped down, every eye fixed on him as he passed Diddy's table. Diddy didn't flinch, but the tension was electric. This wasn't just a rap feud or trolling. This was sworn testimony, now part of the federal record. The judge called a brief recess, yet no one moved. Reporters were too stunned to speak. Jurors gripped their seats, and the prosecution looked as if they'd just driven the final nail into the coffin they'd been building all week. In the corner, quietly, a clerk slid the last document into evidence. A voicemail 50 said Kim Porter had sent just 1 week before her death. The voice, barely a whisper, was recorded at 2:03 a.m. If they tell you I died of pneumonia, don't believe it. Check the cameras, check the servers. If you're hearing this, he got to me. The courtroom later learned this recording was saved on a protected server and known even to Kim's family, but 50 had safeguarded it, just as he'd promised her. Outside, media frenzy exploded. Hashtags like #Justice for Kim Porter and #Diddy trial bombshell trended worldwide. News tickers ran headlines impossible even days before. 50 Cent testifies Diddy had Kim killed. Kim Porter predicted her death and left proof. Revolt Media, Diddy's once untouchable empire, began to crumble. Stockholders demanded audits, sponsors suspended deals, allies quietly removed collaborations. It was the slow downfall of a giant, not from scandal alone, but under the weight of truth. Back in court, the jury sat in stunned silence. The case had evolved. It was no longer just about abuse, but erasure. A woman erased, a truth erased, and a media machine once controlled now slipping from Diddy's grasp. The judge reconvened and made it clear all evidence submitted would proceed to the next trial phase. No delays, no striking of testimony. And that was it. Diddy sat there, chin low, shoulders heavy. No microphone, no cheering crowd, no control. Just silence, the kind that follows when truth finally breaks free.